Hello and welcome. This is Bookish Bites, and we're here with author Shamika Hill. We
Hello.
are going to be talking about her book, Into the Past, Part 2. Shamika, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. This crazy world.
No.
So today we are going to be we're going to be touching on some things. We're going to be talking a little bit about Sonia Massey and dangerous men in uniforms. And we're also going to be talking about Into the Past and the dangerous men in uniforms in that book. Well, not all of them were in uniform, so so for those of you who may not know what happened to Sonia Massey, I think a lot of people do know, but a lot of people are very busy and too busy with life to really get into everything that's going on. I've sure missed a few things that happened what's been going on in social media.
Um,
So Sonia Massey is this beautiful woman, beautiful black woman who was unalived by a police officer in Illinois. She had called them for help. She was hearing noises outside of her home. It was a common thing, a basic call that cops working the graveyard shift normally get. So they showed up to the house, and there was nothing around there. There was nothing that they were hearing or nothing that they saw. And she admitted that maybe because I believe, don't quote me on this, she had some sort of mental illness, I'll say that. And she said maybe, and she was on medication, she said maybe that has something to do with it. They asked her for her ID. They entered her home, which they're not supposed to do, and she was sitting on her couch looking through her purse looking for her ID. One of the officers noticed that she had a pot of water, boiling water, on the stove, and asked for her to remove it. And she got up, she removed it, and as she was getting ready to, or as she was preparing to remove it, the other officer um made it seem like she was trying to throw the boiling water at him. He was a good distance away, has a whole kitchen countertop separation between them. This officer is also 6'4". He could pretty I'm pretty sure he can see over the counter. So, and there was a good distance between them. Yeah, yeah. But apparently he was scared of boiling water, so obviously he doesn't take baths. I don't really care about this cop. So I don't really care about this guy. Obviously he doesn't take baths. He's scared of water. So he felt like it was a threat, and he unalived her. But I'm not showing the video because it's been played a lot on social media, and I don't know about you, but it's hard to watch. One, two, it's not something I want to watch over and over again. It's very painful. It's very painful because it makes no sense. But if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. Just Google, just type in Sonia Massey, and it will pull up all the videos. Um, what got me is that this cop actually walked around the countertop to get a good aim. If he's so scared of her with this boiling water, he was yelling at her to put the boiling water down. She did put the boiling water down, and she put her hands up in the air, and he shot her. He told her before, I was going to shoot you in your effing face, and he shot her in her face. He shot at her 3 times, and one of the bullets did shoot her in the face. And um when she the other officer, who didn't understand, he was you look at the video, he was kind of looking away at something else, like looking into one of her rooms. So when he looks back, he sees his partner with the gun drawn. So he freaks out, and he does, which I don't blame the other officer. I think that he's just doing what he's trying to do. That other
mhm.
officer also said, when he saw that she was shot on the ground, I'm going to go get my med kit. And well, the one who shot her said, I shot her in the face, basically. And the way he says it, the tone he says it is just this kind of like he's proud of what he did. And he stopped his partner from getting her medical help. They call it in and everything. By the time, of course, everybody shows up, she's gone. And so this is the outrage that in our community. Yes, he is in jail and he is charged with murder, but when you look at this man's record, he should never been a police officer. So this is a dangerous man in uniform. And as a she's a black woman. It looks like she's living by herself at her apartment or home. And it's like, what are you to do? You call for help. Those are the only ones you can call for help. And it's like those are the worst people she could have called for help. So do we just not call 911 now? You know, after seeing that, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to call the cops.
I
I don't
know.
I don't want to call the cops.
I
I
don't
don't
even
want to
do
call the cops
investigation anyway.
for nothing. Yeah. It has
Mm-mm.
to be severe. It has to be severe because I don't know who I'm going to get. I really don't. He could be a good cop. It could be a bad cop. I don't know. And I don't know if I want to play Jeopardy like that. So,
I feel
I don't
you.
know. I want to play Jeopardy like that. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the whole Sonia Massey case?
It's sad. It should
It's
have never
sad.
happened. It should have someone lost
It
their
should be
lives for
her.
no reason. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I heard it. I was like, no, it has to be more to it than this. And it's not. I
Yeah,
mean,
when you hear something like
yeah.
that, it sounds unbelievable. She shouldn't have died. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, someone's lying or someone left something out. So
Well,
yeah.
the most important thing I left out is what she said that provoked him. So she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. How is that a threat
Uh,
to you? And all I can think of on a spiritual level is he's a demon.
yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
only one.
You
You know?
you took the words right out of me. I'm telling you, that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe
Yeah.
Jesus was a threat. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the only one who would react the way that he did
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I don't see how those words in any way, shape, or form would be a physical threat to you. That's,
No.
what I'm saying. And it's after when he was saying he had made some comment to her. She had just finished laughing with the other cop. He had made some kind of comment on her, and I don't it was really kind of hard to hear what he said, but I think he said something like I believe that he did say that's when he first started saying don't you throw that boiling pot of water on me or something like that. And that's what her response was like, "What? I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And I get what she was, basically she realized he has a demonic spirit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Because
know?
especially if you're not even acting like nothing shows that you're even about to throw water at you.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to
She
find
didn't have
some
it.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't have the pot
Mhm.
like up like she was gonna like in a position that she's gonna throw it at him, and it's kind of stupid. It would never reach him. If she threw it, it'd fall over her sink and the countertop, and the little, it's not gonna reach
Yeah.
him. So it just, I get like that would baffle me. I put myself in her shoes, and I don't think I would have done anything different. Because I'm the type of person I would say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. So
Right? Yeah, I'll say that in a hot second. Like,
that's it,
I don't know.
right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
So there was nothing that she did that was, yeah. So the reason why I brought that up is because I think about Cece in your book and what happened to her, what she endured. So let me tell you, I'm like halfway through. I'm I'm halfway through. Now this is my things. Like with my time and my schedule, it's hard. But because I'm putting your book into audio,
Uh-huh.
I get to listen to it over. I
Yeah.
get to listen to it over and over and over again. So I was like, your book, I really, really know. Well, I really, really know a good half of it. 'Cause I have to redo it and redo it, and I got to redo it again because now they updated all the voices. So yeah. But what she went through was crazy, and I looked at, like, here's this paid off police officer's a part of it, you know, or that one officer.
Yeah.
He's a part of it, and I'm just like, how do people sink so low to? I mean, okay, well, this police officer with Sonia Massey, he's not paid to hire to. I don't know. We don't understand what his whole logic is. I'm not going to speak for him,
Yeah.
But I often wonder. I've heard things like there are cops who are part of certain organizations that intentionally become police officers to do just what this guy's
Yeah.
doing or did.
Mhm.
And I've heard that. And honestly, like, it's hard to argue because look what they're doing. The
Yeah.
cases are stupid. You can't do anything black around a cop. You can't hold a pot of boiling water. You
You
can't
can't.
jog.
No.
You know what I'm
Nope.
saying? Like you can't there's nothing you could do. So
Yeah.
what do we do other than not call definitely not call y'all, try to avoid y'all at all costs.
Yeah,
That's how I see
I'm trying to tell you. It's like you communicate with a cop or see a cop, you have no idea how that situation is about to turn. No
No,
idea.
you don't.
I
No,
even
you
had
don't.
some
And it
situations. Well, I had a situation myself that just made me just like I don't want to talk to him.
mm-mm.
I don't. I know there's good cops out there. I know there are. I even have some cops in my family, but it's
Me
just
too.
like all the ones that I dealt with, they're not good cops. Me personally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have my own
Oh, wow.
way of thinking when I hear cops. And yes, I do try to stay away from them. I don't want to call nobody. Just yeah,
I can say, like, the area that I live in now, I haven't had any issues with the cops. They've been pretty cool. Um, they really don't, but I live, like, kinda like in a military community. Not like officially military, it just happens that a lot of retired military move here. So, but I haven't had any negative issues with a cop at all in this area. But where I grew up in South Florida, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. I
Oh
had
yeah.
about three. I had about three. I think there's about three
Yeah, the
incidents
3.
that I had to deal with cops, and
Yeah.
all three of them was bad.
Yeah.
So
I've been
yeah.
body slammed by a cop for mistaking they thought we were in a stolen vehicle, and they held us all like, all these cops came out at gunpoint, threw dragged us out the car, slammed us to the floor, and only to come to find out that the car is not stolen.
Don't even get an apology, huh?
No, no,
No.
no,
Yeah.
none,
Yeah,
none,
I had a
none.
situation
Yeah,
leaving work. I was working as a massage therapist at a time, and it's crazy because this dude literally waited for me for like a whole hour and a half. He waited. He
wow.
watched as I came out of my office, locked it up. I'm closing up shop. I got the shirt on that has the what was it, Urban Retreat
Yeah,
Day Spa. Had the shirt on,
yeah,
and I'm like, I just feel you kind of know, like um
yeah,
you just know. And I'm just like, dang,
yeah,
something about to go down. So I got in my little car, reverse. So I'm parked here, like in front of the business, and he's parked right here. I seen when he went there, he seen me get out of my car. I was eating my lunch, and he seen. So it took me an hour to massage somebody. So by the time I clean up and leave,
mhm,
he's waiting for me. I pull out, and right before I get to the driveway to go onto the street, the he pulls on his siren. So I just pull up into the next door. Mind you, I'm still in the same shopping center. I ain't went nowhere.
yeah,
So I just pull into the
yeah.
parking. They came to me, guns drawn, talking about we know you have drugs in the car. I'm like,
What?
what? Like, did you see? Girl, he opened the door, grabbed me, digging his nails in my skin, tossed me on the floor. They're searching the car. And I'm like, so he's asking me a question and I'm answering it. And the other cop is telling me, don't talk. Like, you're not allowed to talk. I'm just sitting here like, oh my,
What?
the whole thing makes no sense. People coming out of business watching me. I'm just sitting here like, dang, what am I supposed to do? I can't talk. He's asking me
Yeah.
questions and I'm getting yelled at for trying to answer. So the whole thing took about 15 minutes. Then they was like, okay, you're free to go. We thought you were someone else. They had
Yeah.
my ID and everything. That was the first thing he asked for. But the whole thing was crazy. I went home crying, like, and
Yeah.
then so when I told my parents, they was like, oh, well, file a complaint, call. All they did was like, well, our cops go through a lot. Do you want to go on a ride along so you can see what they go through on a daily basis?
No, I don't wanna be
No,
nowhere
I
near
don't
them.
want to go on no ride along. Yeah, I was young. I think this was when I was
Yeah.
like probably 19 or 20. So,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do? I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I just knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Wow.
that was the worst one because anything could happen. I could have lost my life that day for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know. we stay home a lot, you
Yeah,
know, and I think that's the best we can do is we can stay home a lot and work from
I
home.
know. I know.
We homeschool my daughter, so because the bullying and the things in school and
It's scary out there. I'm telling you, to seniors.
yeah,
Yeah, I pray for my kids every time they walk out this house, when they go to school. It's like you. It's just
yes,
this world is crazy nowadays. You got people breaking into your homes, and
yes.
it's you're not really safe at home either.
No, I
That's
know, right?
really scary. Yeah, you're not even safe at home. So it's just like
Yeah, no. And
it's
yeah, I
crazy.
think about that thing. And
Yeah.
then like for me, and then it's like even with like okay, so my boyfriend, he's dark skinned, and I worry about him going out. Sometimes it's just like he don't know how, like anytime he leaves the house, I actually worry about him. Even though
Yeah.
I said we never had any issues in our neighborhood, that doesn't mean that there's not bad cops out there. That doesn't mean it's just
Yeah.
like God, thank God we haven't come across any of them.
I know.
So, but I worry about him because, it's scary, like,
Yeah.
and they're after all of us. Um,
Hmm.
I can't even say especially our men because it seems they come after black women just as hard.
I'm trying to tell you, and then look, my husband is 6'5", and my son, I have twin boys, and one of my boys is so tall, he don't look like an 11-year-old, and he's
What?
muscular like this guy. I'm telling you, my son will be very good in football. I don't know if he liked the sport. He's into basketball, but he would be so
Oh,
good that he's built for it. But he's tall.
yeah.
He's like the tallest 11-year-old I've ever seen in my life, and it worries me because I
Wow.
don't want him going out and cops mistaking him
Mistaken.
for someone older. He's to me, he's still a baby. You know, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta do so much for this boy. So it's just like, yeah, it worries me. It
Yeah,
really does.
that would worry me. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So tell
Mhm.
us about your book. We've been talking about everything under the sun. Tell us about your book. What was the inspiration behind your book, behind creating your story? And you have a very unique
Okay,
twist in
so
your
one of the
book.
questions
Yeah.
I do. Like, so the thing that started it was, I always ask myself, if you can go back in the past, would you change anything or would you keep everything the same? You know, that's always a
Yeah.
question I ask. Because it's just like, and there's some times where I just wish I could just go back in the past and just watch things
Yeah.
happen. Like, you could be amazed by something. Imagine going back to the past and seeing Moses separate the Red Sea. Can you imagine that?
Oh, wow.
Seeing
Yes.
that would be amazing, right? But it's
Yeah.
just in general, like I have lost a lot of at the first book that I made.
Hmm.
In the making of that book, I had lost uh one, two grandparents, three grandparents. I lost
Oh,
three,
wow.
and I lost an
Wow.
auntie, and I lost two uncles. So
Uh-huh.
I went through a lot making the first book. So at the moment, I'm thinking, dang, if I could just go back and just hear their voice and just,
Hmm.
just see them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what made me think of the book. But in the first book, and she does it in the second book too, but not as much as the first. But she's able to go back
Okay.
into the past, and pretty much she can see things. She can't interact with people, but she can manipulate things. So she can move stuff, and, just moving something real simple just out the way or putting it in view that can change everything. So she didn't
Mm-hmm.
notice what she was doing, but she inadvertently, she changed her present.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I started it. I was gonna end it at the first book, but I had people,
Uh-huh.
well, what happened, to this person, and when is it wasn't supposed to be a part two. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought that's all the questions. I gave you a little snippet of her future, like, what is that?
What more do you want?
Yeah, so so I went on and came out with the part two, and man, I'm gonna tell you, part two was my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that one was. It was more of a revenge. It's like, okay, well, you changed the past. There's gonna be some consequences,
Yes.
like.
Yes.
So that one was real good. A lot of action in that book.
Yes, 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 it does. It's good. It's a good, fun read. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
enjoying it. I'm enjoying editing it and playing with it. And what I liked about the style is that you have, it's almost like each chapter it's a different character's whole, like they're telling the story in
Yeah.
that chapter there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so unique. So unique.
You
I
know
loved
what?
it.
I wasn't gonna do that because, like, if on the first book, it was just Brielle. It's just her story. She's the one that
Mm,
goes into the past. And I was gonna do it again because now, everybody knew who Brielle was. But I'm
mhm.
just like, dang, but if something like this is happening and the family is so close, it's like I want everybody's, point of view on it, everyone's emotions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I did it that way. I think it came out perfect.
It
It
did.
came out
It
perfect.
did. It did. It's really
Yeah.
good. And yeah, so I loved it. So what are your plans for your, yeah, do you plan on doing a part 3 or is that it? Just 1 and 2?
I think this is it. You know what? Everybody's asking me for a part three of this too. I kid you
Wow.
not. And I'm like, no, I think I'm like, again, I answered everything. Like you even got to see the life, like I think it was a year, 2 years later. So
Mhm.
I felt like the ending was pretty, I feel like the ending was
I
really
think
good.
yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like the family needs to rest. Like they've been through a lot. They've been
That's
through a
true.
lot. So I'm like, the family
That's
needs
true.
to rest. So I don't think, I mean, I know I could go with the third one, but no, I want to let them
You're
rest.
you're such a nice author. We torture our characters.
You know what? I be wanting to, but I don't normally do outlines. So when
You
I'm
know, okay.
writing,
Yeah,
it's
I don't
like
do
I'm
outlines either.
watching it. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just writing it. So I'm just feeling
Yes.
their emotions, writing what I see and
Yes.
hear. So yeah. Because I
Yeah.
thought someone was gonna die. That I didn't want to. I was so sad. Have you ever been sad writing your books? Like
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've cried. I've literally cried.
right? Like, no, I don't
It
want
feels
this.
it feels ridiculous because you're like, it's not even a real person. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I've cried
it's not,
over.
but it feels like it because they have
It
their
does.
own, yeah, their own personality. You can, yeah, it's crazy.
Let me tell you the funny part. There's a
It's crazy.
book, a trilogy that I was working on. I still haven't written the third book in the trilogy. I know I'm horrible. But one of the kind of like main kind, not the main character, but one of the sub characters died in the second book. Can I tell you,
Uh,
my friend at the time, she would read them with me, and she's like, "I'm so mad at you." He died, and it was like I cried. I cried. I'm like, even now when I'm revamping all of my books, I'm actually
uh-huh.
rethinking like maybe I shouldn't kill him. I don't.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, but it was aw.
I told you she was gonna find me.
Yes. She had to find mama.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
goodness. So are you working on it or is it still in the back burner
I
for now?
haven't I'm working on it. I need to finish the third book and but I have to go back over because it's been so long. I have to go back over and reread it.
Yeah.
The problem is the like who I had edited before, I guess they didn't do a good job. And so now I have to go back over. And that's common that happens with us. Like finding a good editor is not easy. And I actually had to learn how editing really works. And it was
Yeah.
when I found out, I was like, okay, I understand. I'm not even mad at them, because they're
Yeah.
really not editors, they're proofreaders.
Yeah.
And that's like somebody you deal with last. So when they're getting our hot mess of a book, it's
I
like, here, I wrote
know.
this mess. Can you
Yeah.
make it pretty? They do the absolute best that they can. But if your book is not written the way if like you leave pieces on the table, like I said, like I feel like I've left story on the table or things that just didn't line up. Like you need that person who their thing is not about grammar. They're just
Yeah.
looking for make sure the story is in alignment. Like the story makes sense. Even if it's fiction, it has to be kind of like within a realm of reasonability. I don't,
Mhm.
like there has to be. It can't be so far fetched. The reader's like, oh, please, you know, and puts it
Yeah.
down. It has to be somewhat, or you got to find a way to tweak it and work it into where that reader would be like, oh, okay, in that world, I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, and so I have to go back. Like the story is well written. It's just now it's just perfecting and now I need the proofreader. Now I need the editor,
Yeah.
the grammatical editor. So
I'm trying to
so
signal the
that's
husband to
where
get the 3 year.
oh
Come on, little baby. Come on.
I'm so sorry. I told you. I can't get a break.
that's how it is. That's how it is being a mom. Yeah, so yeah, so I could see I can see what you're saying though. And I actually I like that because it's true. Like it's kind of pushing it to say to go through a whole nother drama. It's just a little too
Yeah.
much. Yeah. It's a
Hmm.
lot that happens in two. And yeah. I mean
Yeah.
I did skip to the end.
Oh,
I
you
don't know.
did?
I normally don't I skipped to the end. And well, you know what? I have to listen to the whole thing, but I did skip to the end and I listened. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. So she ends
Yeah.
up with okay. Yeah.
You know what?
It was
I'm not even
cute.
gonna lie. I do that too when I read books. Sometimes I get the book be so good. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? I
Yeah.
just I
Yeah.
thought I was the only one.
Right? No, no. I'll be doing that. I gotta know that they got together. Did she
Right.
survive, you know?
Oh, I love the ending.
And then I can go back
Right?
and like,
I
okay, I
know.
can
I
read it a
know.
little
Oh, I
less
had
stressed
people
out.
fussing
Yeah.
at me. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
had people
yeah.
fussing at me when yeah, but the ending, I love the ending. The ending was beautiful.
It's sweet.
It was beautiful.
Yes. You know what? It's
Yeah.
enriching, it's fulfilling, and it hits all the entire story hits all those like it checks off all those marks. So you get all the different
Yeah.
emotions. You're satisfied by the time you come to the end. And I love that. I
Mhm.
think that's
Yeah.
good. I think that's a bestseller because
Yeah.
you need that. You walk away and you just feel good after, reading a book. I think that's a good thing. That's what I
Yeah.
try to do. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want them to feel like, horrible.
I know, right?
So,
I want a book. I want a book that's so good that when it ends, it just be on your mind for the next few days. Like I can't get into no other book
yeah.
right now. I'm still on that.
Yeah, I need a
It's
moment.
been 3 days,
Yeah,
right?
I need
I
a
want a
moment.
good book.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a fun thing, and I love that it's so many authors like that out here now. Like
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
like that self-publishing has really opened up because I feel like now you're getting into some really unseen amazing talent, which
yeah,
you don't see anymore because you have this industry, not to talk bad about the industry, but they try to control the narrative, oh, nobody
mhm.
wants to read that. You don't really know that because you never put it in front of
Yeah,
people, you never push it in a way that people will discover it. There's a book for
yeah.
everybody. There,
Mhm.
there's a group of people who like the strangest books. You know what I'm saying? And they'll just
I'm trying to
think it's
tell
the
you,
best.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they will think it's the best. So, like you can't tell people, and that's what I learned with when I did research when I first started. I researched Stephanie Myers and J.K. Rowling because at the time they were like the two, this Twilight and Harry Potter, so they were like the two popular ones. And I had heard
Yeah,
that Stephanie Myers had self-published, but she self-published not for the intention of being a self-publisher. She just wanted to put her book in an easier format to ship it out to inquiries and stuff like that.
oh,
So
okay.
that's what she did it for. And but what happened is kids in middle and high school, I think like actually from like the 5th grade up, started reading her book and loved it.
Wow,
Meanwhile, she's saying it to these big name publishers and they're rejecting her book saying there's enough vampire stories. So this is my
wow.
point is like you don't know what people like, you know.
Mhm.
They
Right.
really don't know. And the reason why the kids liked it is because well, it is a good story. Even and I don't like vampire stories.
Yeah,
And I watched all her I'm not big I didn't read the books, but I watched the movies. I'm one of those people. So I loved it. I was like, okay, it's a glittery
yeah,
vampire, but it's different. That's different.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so she wrote a good book. She wrote a good series, and it was interesting. But they don't know what people really like because they're not allowing it to be introduced to people. So
I
because
know.
she published her book on her own, even though it wasn't for that intention, that's what got her fame. because otherwise, if she had just depended on them, we probably never heard of her
Never
littering
heard it. Yeah.
vampires.
A lot of people just be like, well, I guess I'll just throw this on and delete this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. So
That's
you told me
sad.
you're working on 6 books?
I got, yes, I'm not even lying. I have 6 books that I'm working on right now. I keep starting a book. I get to the middle of it and then I get an idea for another book. So I start that one. And it just keeps happening. It won't
Yeah.
stop. So I'm like, everyone's telling me just concentrate on one book. So I'm trying to, and if something else pop up, I'll try to write little notes. But I don't like notes. I want to just get started on it right away. I get excited. So
Okay,
yeah,
so my advice to you is go ahead and start them
I
and just put
know.
it aside. Like start to
Yeah,
put it aside and then go back to whichever one you want to focus. Like find one to focus in on, but
uh-huh.
it's okay to go ahead and start that other one. So,
Yeah.
for an example, when I wrote my first book, Endurance, it's kind of remind me of what you had said earlier. When I wrote Endurance, I thought that was going to be it. Okay, I got this
Mhm.
book out of my system. I could go back and have a normal life. No,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. So book two is like 2 weeks later, I started working on the second book, which is called Broken. And Endurance took me 3 weeks to write. Broken took a little bit longer because I was dealing with issues with the first book and just understanding how self-publishing works. I did nothing. So I was very like I was just the perfect victim for a lot of scammers because I didn't know anything. So I
Yeah.
learned a lot because yeah, I got dragged, you know? And
Yeah.
after that I had just one really like God bless him. It must have been God speaking through him, but it was a company called Book Surge and they became Create Space and then now KDP has taken over that company. So now that's KDP, right?
Yeah.
Um the guy who worked at Book Surge, he says, "Well, we're getting ready to become Create Space. We teamed up with KDP or with Amazon, and we're becoming a company called Create Space." And he says, "Let me tell you," he goes, and I told him my whole story, what happened. He says, "Let me tell you," he goes, "You could do everything on your own minus editing." He says, "You can learn how to do your own book covers. You can learn how to write your own blurb." He goes, "You can learn how to format your own books." He says, "The editing is the only thing because, you need extra pair of eyes,
Mhm.
and then it just, of course, there's knowledge behind it." So,
Yeah. Mhm.
um, he said that's the only thing. He goes, but he goes, doing that, he goes, if you learn how to do those things, you can save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money. I wouldn't say time, a lot of money. And I don't know who, I don't remember his name. I always talk about him because it was pivotal advice for me. Because after he told me that, I deep dived into learning every aspect of publishing.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned how to do book covers. I learned how, and let me tell you, my first book covers were horrific.
Really?
You know,
I want to
it was
learn. I
it's
just don't know where to
funny.
start.
It's weird, but like when you do your first one, you're like, oh yeah, this looks good.
Yeah.
You're in your own little world. You are in your own world. You're like, oh, this looks really good. You put it up there, and it's like, this is like, I don't know if your eyes, I don't know what happens, but then you're like, that picture's blurry. Like you can tell that's like copy and paste. Like
Oh my
it's
goodness.
funny. Yeah, it just takes practice. It just takes
Yeah.
practice. Just practice, practice, practice. So yeah, it took a long time. I started in 2009. I'm now actually saying, okay, I will do book covers for other people. I wouldn't do it unless you like really ask me and beg me. And then I would be like,
Really?
okay, well, and because I wasn't confident in my skills, I'd be like, I'll do it, but I'll
Yeah.
do it for free because I don't want to charge somebody and it's crap. Like that was my thinking because I felt like I wasn't there yet. But
Hmm.
now the things that I do, I don't care. I like it. I like it. It looks good. I'm getting good feedback from other people. Okay, I know I'm not crazy. We're
Yeah.
running with it. So,
Yeah.
and it's still always a process. Everybody has their different taste, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. It just takes time and patience. Learning how to use the programs, if you want to like just basic learn on your own, just like beginning figuring it out, I would suggest
Mhm.
Canva.
Okay.
Because they have like a free version. I would
Mhm.
suggest just go on Canva and just practice. Always use a 6 by 9 um size for the book, and just practice. Try to mimic, like they show you design so you could actually mimic what they do and learn how they did it, or and different things. So that's what I do. And then I research like what's the trending for book covers for 2024, and you see
Uh-huh.
what's out. And you may not I don't always agree with the trending style. Like I'm not a big fan of just the words on the
Yeah.
on the book, but other people are. So I would still try it. Like just challenge yourself. So try to
Yeah.
make something. Like those 6 books you playing around with, I would practice just trying to make a cover for it. It does save you money, but it's like I have a friend, we always say like it's either time or money. So it's either you have the money to pay someone to do it,
Yeah.
or you don't have the money but you have the time. So you have the
Yeah.
time to take to learn the skill. So
That's
that's
true.
all it is. Yeah.
Let's get back to
It's
you
worth it
talking
though.
about it took you 14 days to write your book.
Yeah, that was crazy. Okay, it was weird. It was a weird time for me. So I was married at that time. So you can imagine them. That's why I'm not married now. So at the time I was married, and my husband had just said, what he's gonna. We were home chilling because he was older than me. He's 13 years older than me, and he decided he's gonna retire. We're gonna stay home, raise these 2 little kids, right? And then he decided, for whatever reason, he wants to go back out to work. I was like, all right, cool. I got nothing to do because I'm home. So I started getting like my sister was telling me, we were talking, she's like, I really think you need to write a book. I was like, write a book? That's out of left field. And she goes, yeah, I don't know what it is. I think you need to write a book. And this is the second time this happened to me, where somebody approached me and told me I need to write a book. So the first time was in middle school, which was my friend Valerie, and she wanted me to write a book, and I told her, you're crazy, I don't got nothing to write about. And I turned around and wrote a whole story in an hour. So
Wow.
yeah. So she's like, yeah, right. So that's what's got me started. So now years later, here comes my sister with that same kind of energy as my friend
Yeah.
Valerie. And I realized this is coming from God, because obviously
Mhm.
he wants me to write. I don't know
Yeah.
if he wants me to write everything I wrote, but he wants me to write.
Yeah.
So so it took me a while, but the first time I did it, it actually made me sick, like physically sick. I almost threw up on my keyboard. I was getting hot flashes. I ran and fell because like it just from writing. It was really weird. I waited 2 weeks, and then I got the courage to try again. It was weird. Now this is the creepy thing is, what I had written was like about a paragraph, and it was that paragraph ends up being in my fourth book. That's why I say just write it. You never know. So that paragraph
Mhm.
that story ends up being my fourth book in that series.
Wow.
And it's about a woman. She's in an abusive relationship, and she has 2 daughters named Promise and Prudence. And it's a whole thing. But just writing her scene, I don't know if you get this. Like, you get so caught up in the character's emotions, it takes over, and it made me
Mhm.
sick. Like, I wanted to throw up, and I still didn't understand why I wanted to throw up, but I wanted to throw up. But ever since then, I call it throwing up on paper. So that's how I start a lot of my books. And you just throw up, just whatever, and then you
Oh,
sort
yeah.
through it and you organize it.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
yeah. So I waited 2 weeks, and then I think it was 2 weeks, and then I came back, and then after that, what I did is I said I'm gonna write by hand to either slow myself down or have some kind of control. Okay. Before that, the night before I started doing that, it's like God wouldn't let go. God wouldn't let me let it go. So I found myself like in the middle of the night, I woke up and my hand was doing this. And like I had a pen in it and it was writing. And I felt like if I put a
Yeah.
piece of paper under it, it would start writing something. And it's like, I'm like, okay, something. And then I started dreaming characters of the book that I wrote when I was in middle school. I started dreaming them. And I was like, okay, I got to see where this goes. And then that morning, I decided, like, I couldn't even sleep
Yeah.
anymore. And I literally laid there in bed waiting for the sun to hit so I don't seem weird waking up in the middle of the night writing, you know? So when we got up, I grabbed the notebook and I said, I'm, do it in the notebook. and I started writing by hand until I think it was like a Saturday I started. So I started writing by hand. That by Monday, I couldn't wait for Monday to come. And I know it sounds mean, but I couldn't wait for Monday to come because my husband was going to work and the kids were going to school. It was just
I
gonna be
can
me and the
understand
dogs.
that. No, I get
Yeah,
it. I get
yeah.
it.
And I sat down at that computer and I started writing out what I had handwritten, typing out what I had handwritten. And I was writing, I would write from the time they left for school. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for them to go to work at school. I love them. I love them, but they had to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would write, and I found out when I calculated it up later, I was writing 10,000 words a day. I
Are
wasn't
you
getting hungry.
serious?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, it was something else. I wasn't getting hungry. I wasn't really getting thirsty. Like I would, and then like if I did kind of feel like peckish, which was strange,
Yeah,
I would call for delivery because I didn't have time to stop to cook. I couldn't stop long enough to
yeah.
say cook. It was like every minute was so important to me. So I would call and get delivery and have them bring it to the house. And that's what I did. I'll eat while I'm
Wow.
typing. So ever since then, I've always had a laptop in front of me. If I'm not typing or working on something,
Yeah.
it's like I gotta keep. That's how I do it. And I wrote that book, yeah, in 2 weeks. That thing, I had about 100,000 words in 2 weeks, and I stopped because I'm like, this book is gonna be too long. And like I've had people tell me I could have
Yeah.
probably split that book. Yeah, they're saying
Yeah.
like there's so many
Oh
stories
my
in it. I
God.
probably could have split it up. Yeah. But yeah, I had a little over 100,000 words in that book, and then, but that wasn't the biggest one. The biggest one was my book Spirit at the time. That had a lot more, but also I didn't know how to format as well. So when I was doing the book, it was coming out too big, and the pages were
Um,
coming out. So my cousin who was reading, she goes, "I love it, but I'm losing pages, and I don't know what happened with the scene." And yeah,
oh my
the
goodness.
book was too thick, yeah. I split
Yeah.
it, and now that I know how to format better, I'm kinda mad because now I can see where it could just fit into one book, but it's already split, so it's
Yeah.
done with this. I don't wanna put it back together now. Be too confusing.
Um,
But yeah, yeah,
dang.
I
I
wrote
wish
that
I
book
could.
bad. And it's no, don't. Yeah, I don't recommend it. Let me tell you why. Because my husband didn't understand at the time. And I was just like, even if I'm physically there, mentally, I was not there. I was gone. Like, I was miles away because I was in that story. So as we're
Yeah.
sitting down, he's trying to spend time with me. I'm thinking, okay, what does
You
Max
got it
do
right.
next?
I know.
What does May do next?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
all,
But
yeah.
I do that
Yeah.
too. I write too. I feel like you flow better when you write it out first. Like it's
Yeah.
like the pen
Yeah.
and it just has a mind of its own. So I do flow better with that. But the thing is like even when I write, I try to get as much done when I'm by myself, but I don't be by myself that often. It's like my daughter,
Yeah.
the 3-year-old, is in competition with my paper and my computer. Because whenever she see me pick up a pen, she come and sit right on me. Like, let's go bye-bye. Like I'm hungry. I need this. The dog
Oh
start
my
calling for me,
god.
something. So
Yeah.
I write. What I try to do is I'll wake up earlier than everyone in the house, and I'll try to get right in. And
Yeah.
sometimes if I'm not too tired, I'll wait till they're laying down or sleep before I start
Yeah.
writing. But I
Yes.
don't get the time. So
Yeah.
surprisingly, I have 6 books that I have started, which is cool, because I think
Yeah.
starting the book is the hardest.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's the hardest part. But I just need to. If I can get 3 days to myself, away from the house,
You have that
away.
book out.
Yeah, it
You
is
know,
3 days.
I understand. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when I was growing up, I'll hear the stories or see the movies where the writer goes off on a vacation by themselves and it's just a cottage in
Yes,
the
yes,
woods and they're writing.
yes.
I get it now. I didn't, I'm like, that's lonely.
Man,
No, I
that
get
is
it. I
not.
get it.
I need that. Look, I
Yeah.
actually thought about doing that on a cruise. I'm looking at 3 day
Oh,
cruise
wow.
and go by myself. My husband can't go.
Yeah.
I could just do it by myself, get a balcony, be walking. Look, the water's right there, be writing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like I would love to do that. I could do that.
Yeah.
But it
We
ain't
need
gonna
to we
happen.
need to
It's
come
just a
up with
dream.
like a it's a dream. We need to come up with like a writer's some kind of writer's seminar. Well, that's all we do. It's not even a meeting.
No.
Coffee and donuts and silence.
Right? I'm trying to tell you, I would go
Right?
in a second. I would go.
Yeah. Yeah. Sitting by the pool. Oh, the other meeting is gonna be sitting by the pool writing.
Yes.
Dinner is gonna
Here
be
she comes.
writing and dinner. Yeah.
I know. She came right back. She heard me say right. Here she come. I heard the little
Oh,
feet
that's it.
running down the kitchen.
She's probably gonna be a writer. She's probably gonna be a writer.
I know. Go to your daddy, mom. Go to daddy. Go ahead.
She's
Yeah.
probably gonna be a writer. That is too
I
cute.
don't know. But it is in the family, since well, my mom writes. I think she's the one that
Oh
started
wow.
it. My mom, she's written books. She wrote this one good book, and she went to I don't know if it was a publisher or editor or some, but they basically told her um it's not a good book, and the type of the way that she wrote it, well, people don't talk like that, and you need to fix this, and they really like made her feel bad, so she put it up. And I'm like,
Oh,
mom, like you could do it. It's a really good book. It's really
she
good.
should publish it.
Yeah, that's what I
She should
told her. So
self-publish it.
yeah, so I told her,
Yeah.
and now that I self-published this book Into the Past too, she's looking into revamping it, and she's gonna get out there. I am pushing her to do it, but yeah, she writes. My
Good.
sister writes. My 13-year-old
Wow.
daughter now, she actually started writing, and I'm like, wow, this is really good.
Wow.
So it's like me
Wow.
doing this is opening other people up in my family that's they're trying to do it. I got my 10-year-old nephew sending me little stuff that he wrote on Messenger. Like, look what I read. Is it
Wow.
good? Do you like it? And I'm like, that's amazing.
I
But
love that.
yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah.
daughter is
Yeah.
I think she's gonna be my illustrator. She's she draws. She draws, but she
Oh,
likes to
that's good.
do like she makes videos on TikTok like with these cartoon characters or whatever.
Yeah.
She does little things like that. But she's into drawing. Her drawing has gotten like she ever since she was little, she was always drawing. So that and her
And then,
drawing is
yeah,
really gotten, yeah,
wow.
each like week, each month is we can see the improvement.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
she does that. The funny thing with her that I noticed when she was a little is we had pulled up to her school and they had like a parents parking sign, like parents could park here, whatever.
Mhm.
This little girl, I think she was 4. She said they she goes, "That's not grammatically correct." I was like, what are you talking about?" She's looking at the sign because they didn't have the comma, the
Oh yeah,
parentheses,
yeah.
they didn't have it in the right spot or something like that. And I was
Wow.
like, "You're 4." I was
Right?
like, "Oh, so you're my editor. Okay, cool. If you can figure that out
Wow.
at that age, you my editor."
Yes.
I gave birth to my
Wow.
editor, so that's cool.
Okay, I'm
I'm
trying to
just
tell
waiting for her to grow up. That's it. Yeah, because she can't be reading the stuff I write now.
I know.
She's like,
Yeah.
"Mom." So, but she's good. And like this little girl, like she was saying pretty big words at a young age. I was like, it's kind of funny because that's probably, you know, that would have been probably like that's what I would consider my weakness would be grammar because I didn't have any training. So I'm self-taught with that.
Hmm.
So that's why, but it's like it seems like, but I think she gets it from my mom because my mom is naturally like that. My mom wrote a
Really?
paper in college. She's telling me about she wrote this paper in college, and it was perfect. No grammar issues, no nothing. I was like, I've never even heard that. She said it was absolutely perfect, and
Right.
the professor had passed her paper around. Was asking like, what's wrong with this paper, and nobody could find anything. And when they gave it back to the professor, she goes, yes, because it's perfect. I was like,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
and
my
my mom,
grandmother. My grandmother does that.
yeah,
That she does that. Yeah.
okay,
I can't do it.
yeah.
Yeah. Especially
I
when that's
think my
writing. I
daughter
told you
got
my
that
pen and
from her.
paper. When that pen and paper being, I just write. I'm not
You
doing,
just write.
the punctuation. I'll do the periods, maybe the commas,
Yeah,
but
I let
just
you breathe
writing.
in between reading it. Like,
Yeah.
I let you breathe.
Yeah, I'm putting all the punctuations when I type it up, but when I'm writing it,
Yeah.
but then typing is crazy because I type fast too, so I'm just
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's crazy.
That's what helped me get through them 10,000 words. And it's funny because I never took like a typing class. At that point when I wrote endurance, I didn't go to college. I was a high school dropout when I wrote that. So
Wow.
that was another thing that I wouldn't say it was self-taught. It was just because even before when I was typing stuff, I was never that fast at typing. I didn't type
Mhm.
every day long enough to have that. But when I started writing that book, it's like, and then ever since then, I can type fast. I don't have to look at it. Now that
Yeah.
am in college, I aced my typing course. That was easy. That was the easy A. Yeah, but that was another thing that was self-taught. Or I don't know. That might be more
No,
divine
I wanted
because
to.
it
I
wasn't,
wanted to.
yeah, it wasn't normal.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I
wasn't
wanted to
normal.
learn because I told you my grandmother, she could type fast. My mama, and I would look like, wow, how do you even know where the letters and the keys are? You're just going, like you're not even looking. And
Yeah.
when I was teaching myself, I would be the fastest doing this. But I could
Chopsticks.
go. Like my dad came to me, he like, In high school, he was like, no,
No.
I'm making you take a type. I'm tired. Go learn how to type. So yeah, so I just tried
Oh
to
my
catch up to
god.
my grandmother and my mama because I want they could type so fast. But yeah,
Wow.
that's how I
Yeah.
learned. It was competition for me because I wanted to do better.
He's like, I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
was.
gosh.
I'm trying to tell you, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Typing and not looking at your keyboard. Yeah.
It is. It does.
Hey,
But you know
yeah.
what? The more you write, they say like you got to do something 1,000 times to perfect it. I don't think I've reached 1,000. Well, maybe I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they count with writing. I don't know what they count 1,000. I don't know. Do we have to produce 1,000 books? That'd be amazing.
Right.
I'm not-
Wow.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't. I can't do 1,000 books.
I don't know.
But
I said I'm trying to get these six out, and that's the reason why I haven't done a catalog yet. Like I haven't had one done
oh.
because I feel I only have three books. It's part one, part two, and then it's a book that I wrote with Art Coxton, Our Love Shattered Like Glass. And I'm like, that's
Mm.
all I got. It's just three. That's gonna be one empty looking catalog. Like somebody else got all this list of stuff, and I just got
I
three.
know. Well, you know what? You just gotta play with it. So okay, so you have three. What I would do is I'm telling you, Canva. Canva is gonna be your best friend. Once you figure out Canva, and it only costs like I think it's like $12, $13 a month for
Mm,
like the pro. Let me tell you, Canva is my best friend. I love Canva. But I would take like I'd put your three books, like have the three images, and then a
uh,
brief description for each one, and then do a whole hoo ha, make it look all pretty on the side, and that's it. That's
oh
it.
wow,
Like,
I did.
you know what I'm saying? Like, just put it. You
Yeah.
just gotta just like a resume. You gotta do it where it makes you're putting your best foot forward. So even if you had one book, I would have put that one book there, had a bigger description, make it look really pretty, have your beautiful face on
I'm
there.
telling you,
And,
yeah.
yeah, you just have to
That's
tweak it. You just have to
that's
tweak
what
it.
the issue
Yeah.
is because I'm like, if I put three books, it's gonna look so empty. Like,
No, yeah. No, that's see, no, see, you gotta look at it. You gotta look at the other way. You have the advantage of actually putting your book covers on there so people can see the book covers. People
yeah,
like to see, the book covers. When it's just a list of the books, it's good, but it's like I get it. They have to do that because they have a lot of books. But if
yeah,
you
yeah.
can put the images, let me tell you, images speak to people. They really do because we read that really fast. Especially if we're rushing and our minds, we're getting pulled in so many directions. It's not funny. That's why it's sad, but reading is there's less and less people reading as much as they should.
I
So I
know.
don't know if you know this, but when we edit books, because now we can edit a book. Before I don't, you don't want me editing your book. You're gonna be like, Lord Jesus, why is my book red after you edited it? Yeah, no. But now I can edit books. So I use help. I use Pro Writing Aid. That's another one. I that's like my whole writer's arsenal. That's another one. So Canva, Pro Writing Aid, Murph. Uh, I use this other program, but you don't have to. Canva kind of covers a broad spectrum. So
Mhm.
when you're first starting out to learn how to do a lot of stuff on your own, I highly recommend Canva. So, because
Okay,
they do a lot. They do a lot. So,
okay.
yeah. But I would say, and I said I didn't forgot what I was going to say. Oh, editing. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So now I can edit books, right? And now that I've learned enough and went through, now I know and I learned because Pro Writing Aid actually teaches you
Uh-huh.
why you don't want to do this, you know? So,
Oh, okay.
like you can put that comma there if you want to, but now the thing that backs it up is when I put it through Murph and the AI is reading it, you
Uh-huh.
hear why. Actually, what happens is what I've learned
Oh.
is sometimes in reading you're gonna have more commas, but in
Mm-hmm.
the audio, I actually take commas out because if I leave them in like how it is in a book, they sound choppy. They're like they're it almost sounds like a it's like they're jerking, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to take that out. You have to take out some of the comments for it to sound because it more matches how we would say it. We actually
Got
don't
it.
talk with a lot of commas. So
Mhm.
we
I
just,
know.
you
Yeah.
know, it's our tone. Yeah, it's our tone that lets the other person know, you know, the difference. So, but in reading, you can't do that. So they have to use the commas. So that's what I learned. But yeah, I I freaking love the whole process now. I didn't love the whole process before, and it was
Hmm.
overwhelming and it was scary, but you learn and then with putting the stuff together, like you can do it. You have 3 books, that's good. You have the advantage to put your cover on there. You have the advantage to make it look pretty, you know, and put more of like frill or whatever to it. And then you could put I don't know if you don't have a website. You don't
No,
do you
not.
have a website? No.
I'm like, I have 3 books. I don't need a website.
No, no, don't treat it like that. You know, like, okay, so for your website, I would have my 3 books, right? And then you can have a blog on there, which is the blog is good because it's going to help to index you, index your site so people can find your book. It helps you with exposure. That's it.
Uh-huh.
So websites are great for branding and exposure and yeah, sales, but most likely people are going to go to KDP or Amazon to do it. So,
Yeah.
but you never know. There's some people who might actually want to buy your book directly from your website. Like, okay, so you can sell autograph copies from your website. You could do the book boxes. You know, like
Uh-huh.
take a some don't even have to be. You could take a like your book and you could put like things that people would like to munch on when they're reading. You know, chips,
Oh, yeah.
cookies, candy. You know, what I'm saying make a. It doesn't have to be super expensive. Make something fun. Like there's different things you could do. And but that website is good because you want to build that now so that when your 6 books come out, you already have your audience. And I'm telling you this because this is what I learned. So this is what I'm trying to do now. When I started, I didn't know nothing, and I used to go on forums. That's how I learned how to write book blurbs. Is I was on a forum for that, and it was a bunch of different people from all over the world. So I think one of the main guys who was on there was from England, and he was like one of the best person. So he would look at you can ask him, and it's free. Can you take a look at my book blurb? He was like the hardest working person in the room kind of thing, like the smartest person in the room kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he would take it and he would revamp it and send it back to you. But that's how I learned how to write book blurbs from that guy. I don't remember his name either, but I remember he was English. You but, you know, so but it was cool because some were English, some were Scottish, so just all over the
Wow.
world. And I believe in learning from people all over the world because you learn different perspectives and different things and how, like I learned that feral, my book Feral in Australia, it's like it's a very negative word. It's like you're poor, like poor, dirty, homeless kind of thing. It's seen upon as a really bad thing. Nothing sexual. Not that my book, that's not what the word is meant in mine. Mine was a feral child, a child who was raised by wolves,
Uh-huh.
and that's where I get the thing feral, but it doesn't mean that in Australia. So internationally, it may not do so well internationally because they're like, feral, who wants to write about who wants to write
Wow.
about poverty? You know, who wants to write
Yeah.
about being bottom of the bucket, you know? So yeah, I was like, I didn't know that. I say over here, feral to us means like once we think of somebody, we think about that girl who was raised by dogs, you know,
Yeah.
or that child was raised by monkeys. It was or was it Mogul, the Jungle Book? He's feral.
Yeah.
Basically, he was a feral child. I was like, that's crazy because you think
Yeah.
And this is the thing, we're here in America, we're in our own little capsule. We think that everybody understands it the way we do, and I learned that
Exactly.
they don't.
Yeah,
That's no always translate. Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
it's really good. I love what you're doing. And don't think that don't say only 3 books. There's some people who are struggling to write 1 book.
No,
There are
I don't
people
know.
who are struggling to write 1 book.
I know. And then people
So
get their
you got
books out so
3.
fast.
Celebrate.
And I wish I could get my books out fast. It's just like with
Don't
everything
get
that
caught up
goes
in that.
around, huh?
Don't get caught up in that. Let me tell you why. Don't get caught up in that. Let me tell you why. And I mean, I know I'm talking a lot, but I've been in this since 2009. I'm old school with it, so I learned the hard way. I learned through experience. I did get into this, and this is how Pharaoh. This is how Pharaoh came to be. I was trying to do this, write quick books and get them out back to back to
Yeah.
back. I did Feral, I did Demented, and I think at some point I realized. I think it was when I was doing this book called Karma's Tale. You don't even hear about it because that's how bad it is. You don't even hear about it, okay? But But my point is, I realize when you're writing a book fast like that, you're leaving a lot of the story on the table. It's not as good as it could be. Like there's that book could be so much better had you taken the time. And you don't
Mm,
have to take like months or years to do it. But it's just if you focus that energy on that 1 book, it's almost comes out as if you had spent years on it.
okay,
So
you're
yeah, so it's just how you got to learn how to harness your intention, your focus. So for like Pharaoh, when it first started out, it was horrible. It got 2 stars. Okay, 2 stars. And this is the sad part. I missed an opportunity because of this. I had a top editor, not editor, book reviewer, like a well-known book reviewer grab a copy of it and he gave it 2 stars because it was so horrible. It was so horribly it was horribly written, horribly edited. Yes.
oh my
And
goodness.
I'm not even mad at the guy. He's right. Like at that point, it's right. So years later, I didn't pull it because it makes no sense pulling it. You understand how Amazon works? They don't really delete books, so it doesn't make sense. What I did is I just revamped it. I rewrote that book and republished it. Now it's like 4 point something stars. So
Wow.
yeah, so you can take a book that has a low rating and bring it back up. You have to. I believe in revamping because I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I don't have an issue with revamping. I think it's worth it. It started because I could have left it at a 2 star book. That means other people who read something that let's say they read Toxic and they loved it, and then they saw Feral and they read that, like, what the hell is that? Don't do that to readers. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know better, you do better. So
Yeah.
I stopped with the whole trying to push a book out, every week, every month, try to have a book out.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
couldn't do it if
stopped
I
doing
could
that.
do it. Yeah, I take my time. I don't have a
No.
choice to take my time, but yeah, I'm gonna do what you said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and do
Yeah. Well, okay.
the
Like Toxic took me 2 months. But what I did is I really like, okay, say like you get up early in the morning. For example, like I would get up early in the morning and write. My daughter's older and then I only have 1 baby, so she pretty much she's drawing on her iPad or something. So I don't want to
Oh,
say we can't compare because she's she's really, it's just one of her, and then my boyfriend's cool because he pretty much he does his own thing, playing video games, whatever he
yeah,
does. He's not bothering me. So, but I do understand like when my kid, when they're younger, it's hard. It's hard. Like
yeah,
as soon as you start to get that the process, it's mommy, I want this or mommy, I want that, and you got to stop, and it's like you got to start all over again. Yes, I get that.
yeah,
So I would do like how
exactly.
you said, you wake up early in the morning. All I would say is when you do find that time to write, it could be just an hour, just that real focus. And if it is playing music, whatever helps you tune into that character, just focus and just write. And
Yeah,
I did that. So I think Toxic came for a quick book. It came out pretty good. Forbidden, which is my other book, that book actually took me years to write. I want to say 10 or more years. So
oh
I
wow.
did what you did. I had threw up paper and then I put it aside and then I picked it up and I put it back. I picked it up and I put it back for years. There's times when I
Wow.
thought I was gonna finish this book, and no.
Yeah.
So I finally finished that book. Yeah. So that, but for me, I learned that there's things I needed to learn about in the process that I put into that story. So I think
Yeah.
that it just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it as yet. So yeah, I just have to just write it down. You can do it. You can
I'm
do
gonna
it. It
do
don't
it.
have to
Yeah.
take you. Yeah. Just focus. Just when you do find that time, just focus. You're gonna do awesome. Cause Into the Past is awesome. It's awesome. Like that's a great book.
Thank you. I
And I didn't
enjoyed
get
it
to read the
too.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one, I
Yes.
kind of wrote this one as if you don't need to, because it kind of gives you most of the information. But
Yeah.
to learn more about Brielle and how she first went into the past, because that she actually went back and saw her ancestors back in slavery when it first happened.
Wow.
But it was a situation she had to learn from that, and that
Yeah.
brought everything else. But yeah, so the beginning of the book is good, but she'd be like, "Dang, slaves," you know?
That you know what? That's kind of like Octavia Spencer in Kindred. I don't know if they
Oh
had
yeah.
they had the show, and then there oh, that's a good show. That's a good
You
book.
know
I heard
what?
that, yeah.
That my book came out, I think a week before that show came out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I look like my book? It was completely different though, but I'm just like, that's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's good. The show is good. I wish they continued
Yeah.
it, but they didn't. But yeah, it
Mm.
was really good. Well, tell everyone where they can purchase your book.
On Amazon.
On Amazon.
Amazon.
KDP. So, are you and do you have it on the KDP program for
It
those who are
is.
in the Okay, so
It
those of
is.
you who are in the KDP program, you can get the book. And please leave a review. It's an amazing book. Please support this young mom, this great, beautiful family. You have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
So stay in the studio, and we will have our little talk afterwards.
Okay.
Bye bye, everybody.